New York City, July 2025, hums with the gritty pulse of a world clawing back from the Iran-Israel war's economic ripples. Galleries in Chelsea are half empty, art fairs leaner, but the streets still buzz with dreamers. Amid the neon and concrete, Aisha Brooks, a 30-year-old black artist from Harlem, weaves through a crowded art market, her portfolio under her arm, her braided locks swaying, her paint-splattered denim jacket a badge of her hustle. Her dark eyes spark with ambition, her hands stained with acrylics from late-night sessions in her tiny studio. Aisha's here to pitch her vibrant murals, bold strokes of color weaving stories of resilience, to vendors at the Hudson Art Fair, but one booth, run by Victor Crane, a smug gallery owner with a slick suit and sharper bias, is about to test her fire. Aisha's no stranger to rejection. She's clawed her way through art school, odd jobs, and skeptics who called her work too urban. Her murals, blending African diaspora motifs with futuristic hope, have graced Harlem stoops and Brooklyn cafes, but the big leagues, Chelsea galleries, global shows, elude her. The war's fallout has dried up art funding, making gatekeepers like Victor pickier, their biases bolder. Aisha's portfolio, bursting with photos of her murals, is her ticket, but Victor's booth, all white walls and pretentious vibes, feels like a fortress. Victor, his gray hair slicked back, eyes her as she approaches, his smile thin, his voice clipped. "You got an appointment?" he asks, his eyes flicking to her locks, her jacket, his tone dripping with dismissal. Aisha's smile is steady, her voice warm but firm. "No, but my work speaks for itself," she says, opening her portfolio, her murals glowing, vibrant blues, reds, stories of survival. Victor barely glances, his hand waving her off. "Not what we're looking for," he says, his eyes on a white artist's abstract canvas nearby. "This fair's for serious talent." Aisha's jaw tightens, her fingers gripping her portfolio, but her Harlem grit holds. "Serious talent?" she says, her voice sharp, her eyes locked on his. "Check the photos, Mr. Crane. These murals stopped traffic in Brooklyn." Victor smirks, his voice low, meant to sting. "Brooklyn's not Chelsea, sweetheart. Stick to your corner." His assistant, Claire, a nervous 20-something, winces, her eyes on Aisha's portfolio, but says nothing. The crowd, art buyers, hipsters, mills around, oblivious, but a local artist, Jamal, overhears, his dreads bobbing as he nods at Aisha, his voice low. "Keep going, sis. He's clueless." Nearby, Elena Torres, a Latina curator with a sharp bob and sharper instincts, watches, her notepad out, her eyes catching Aisha's murals. "That's real," she whispers to her colleague, her Puerto Rican accent soft. "She's got something." Elena's from a small gallery uptown, scouting for fresh voices, her faith in art unbowed by the war's shadow. She steps closer, her voice warm. "Hey, I'm Elena. Can I see those?" Aisha hands over her portfolio, her heart racing, her voice steady. "All yours," she says, ignoring Victor's scoff, his eyes rolling as he turns to another artist. The fair hums, deals being made, but Victor's rejection lingers, a jab Aisha feels deep. She's faced this before, professors who dismissed her sketches, galleries that ghosted her calls, but here, in New York's art heart, it cuts sharper. Elena flips through her photos, her eyes wide, her voice firm. "These are powerful," she says, her notepad scribbling. "I want you in my next show." Aisha's smile breaks, her locks swaying, her voice a whisper. "Thank you." Victor's booth looms, his smirk a challenge, but Aisha's murals are a truth he's about to regret dismissing, a spark that'll light up more than Chelsea. Let's dive back into the electric pulse of New York City's Hudson Art Fair, July 2025, where the air crackles with ambition, the faint shadow of the Iran-Israel war's economic fallout casting a leaner, grittier art scene, galleries half empty, collectors cautious, yet the streets alive with dreamers chasing their shot. Aisha Brooks, a 30-year-old black artist from Harlem, stands in the heart of it, her braided locks swaying, her paint-splattered denim jacket a testament to her grind. Her dark eyes burn with resolve, her portfolio bursting with vibrant murals, bold blues, reds, and golds weaving African diaspora stories with futuristic hope, clutched tight after a stinging rejection from Victor Crane, a smug gallery owner who dismissed her as not serious talent. His words, "Brooklyn's not Chelsea, sweetheart," cut deep, but Aisha's Harlem grit keeps her upright. Elena Torres, a Latina curator with a sharp bob and sharper instincts, sees the fire in Aisha's work, offering her a spot in an uptown show. Victor's smirk lingers, his booth a fortress of bias, but the crowd, art buyers, hipsters, and local artist Jamal, buzzes, sensing a spark. Aisha's murals are about to ignite a revolution, and Victor's dismissal is a mistake he'll soon regret. The Hudson Art Fair thrummed with New York's raw energy, booths crammed with canvases, sculptures catching LED glints, and the low hum of deals over lukewarm coffee. Aisha Brooks stood a few steps from Victor Crane's booth, her portfolio heavy under her arm, her heart still raw from his rejection. Her murals, photos of mothers in vibrant head wraps, kids painting stars on cracked walls, elders dancing under neon skies, had stopped traffic in Brooklyn, drawn crowds at Harlem stoops, but Victor's thin smile and waved hand, "Not what we're looking for," slammed a door in her face. His gray hair gleamed under the booth's lights, his slick suit a stark contrast to Aisha's paint-stained denim, his voice dripping condescension as he turned to a white artist's abstract splatters, praising their bold vision. Aisha's jaw tightened, her fingers tracing the portfolio's edge, her Harlem roots afire keeping her from buckling. Victor's booth was a fortress of privilege, white walls, minimalist frames, a curated bubble where Aisha's vibrant murals didn't fit his narrow idea of art. His assistant, Claire, a nervous 20-something with wide eyes, clutched a clipboard, her gaze flickering to Aisha's portfolio, her silence a quiet betrayal. Victor's words echoed in Aisha's mind, "Brooklyn's not Chelsea, sweetheart," a jab that stung deeper in the post-war art world, where the Iran-Israel conflict's economic ripple had slashed gallery budgets, making gatekeepers like Victor pickier, their biases sharper. Aisha had faced this before, art school professors who called her work too ethnic, gallery rejections that ghosted her emails, but here, in New York's art heart, it felt like a gauntlet thrown down. Jamal, a local artist with dreads and a quick grin, leaned close, his Brooklyn accent thick, his voice a lifeline. "Yo, Aisha, don't let that clown dim your shine," he said, his eyes flicking to Victor, now laughing with a buyer, oblivious to the spark he dismissed. "Your murals are truth. Keep pushing." Aisha nodded, her smile tight but real, her voice steady. "Thanks, Jamal. I'm not folding." Her eyes caught Elena Torres, the curator who just offered her a shot, flipping through her portfolio a few booths away, her sharp bob bouncing, her Puerto Rican accent soft but firm as she spoke to her colleague, Marcus, a wiry curator with fogged glasses. "This is it," Elena said, holding up a photo of Aisha's mural, a black girl weaving stars into a cracked wall, glowing with hope. "Her work could headline our show." Aisha stepped toward Elena's booth, the crowd parting slightly, their chatter a mix of art jargon and post-war gripes, funding cuts, galleries shuttered, collectors hoarding cash after the war's global shakeup. The Iran-Israel conflict had dried up art markets, but Aisha's murals were a defiance of that gloom, their colors a shout of survival, blending African griot tales with sci-fi dreams. Elena looked up, her smile warm, her voice direct. "Aisha, your work's got soul," she said, her notepad scribbling, her eyes on a mural photo, a family dancing under a neon sky, their joy a rebellion against despair. "I want 3 pieces for my gallery's fall show, uptown. Can you deliver by September?" Aisha's heart raced, her locks swaying, her voice steady despite the butterflies. "I'm in," she said, her hand shaking Elena's, her portfolio a bridge to a dream she'd painted in Harlem's late nights. Victor's voice sliced through the hum, sharp and deliberate, from his booth. "Uptown shows." He called, his smirk wide, his eyes on Aisha, loud enough for the crowd to turn. "Good luck selling that street art, sweetheart." Chelsea's where the real deals happen." His words landed like a punch, the crowd murmuring, some nodding with his bias, others frowning, sensing his cruelty. Claire, his assistant, winced, her hands clutching her clipboard, her eyes lingering on Aisha's portfolio, a flicker of regret in her silence. Jamal's dreads shook, his voice a hiss. "Man's a whole clown," he muttered, his hand on Aisha's shoulder. "Keep it moving, sis." Aisha's eyes locked on Victor, her Harlem fire blazing, her voice sharp, cutting through the fair's noise. "My art's not for your walls, Mr. Crane. It's for the world." The crowd hushed, heads turning, a few phones snapping photos, the moment electric, a spark igniting whispers, "She's got fire. Those murals are something." Elena stepped forward, her notepad down, her voice ablade. "Victor, you're passing on a star," she said, her Puerto Rican accent firm, her eyes narrowing. "Her work's going global, and you'll be eating those words." Victor scoffed, his hand waving, but Claire's eyes stayed on Aisha's portfolio, her silence cracking, her voice a whisper to a colleague. "Those murals are fire," she said, sneaking a photo with her phone, her clipboard forgotten. The fair's energy shifted, buyers drifting toward Elena's booth, their eyes on Aisha's photos, their whispers growing, "Who's she? Those colors pop. That's real art." Aisha stood tall, her denim jacket a badge, her locks a crown, her heart pounding but her resolve ironclad. Flash back to Harlem, 6 months ago, Aisha's cramped studio, paint cans scattered, her hands blending blues and golds on a canvas at 3 a.m. Her best friend, Tasha, a poet with a quick laugh, leaned on the doorframe, her braids swinging, her voice teasing. "You're gonna paint the world, Aisha," she said, her eyes on a mural, a family dancing under a neon sky, their joy a defiance of the world's weight. Aisha grinned, her locks loose, her voice tired but fierce. "One wall at a time," she said, her brush a wand, her dream a seed for today's fight. That studio, those sleepless nights, fueled her now, as Victor's rejection became just another wall to paint over, another canvas to claim. Back at the fair, a new challenge loomed. Marcus, Elena's colleague, rushed over, his glasses fogged, his voice urgent. "Aisha, we've got a slot at the Brooklyn Museum's pop-up show tomorrow," he said, his eyes on her portfolio. "One mural, live painting, big crowd, collectors, curators, press. You in?" Aisha's breath caught, her hands trembling, her voice steady. "I'm there," she said, her mind racing, Brooklyn, her home turf, a stage to prove Victor wrong. The Brooklyn Museum's pop-up was no small deal, it was a post-war revival, a beacon for artists clawing back from the economic slump, drawing eyes from New York to Paris. Aisha saw her mural already, a vibrant tapestry of Harlem's pulse, diaspora roots, and dreams of tomorrow, painted live for a crowd that'd carry her name. Victor overheard, his smirk faltering, his voice loud, meant to cut. "A pop-up? That's cute," he called, his eyes on a buyer, his bias a shield. "Stick to spray cans, sweetheart." The crowd stirred, some chuckling, others glaring, the air tense. Claire, behind him, bit her lip, her phone still holding Aisha's mural photo, her silence a crack in Victor's armor. Elena's glare cut through, her voice sharp. "It's a start, Victor. Watch her soar." Jamal's grin widened, his voice low. "She's about to shut him up, watch." The fair's crowd buzzed, buyers whispering, phones snapping, Aisha's name spreading, not through hashtags, but through raw energy, the kind that lights up barbershops, stoops, and art blogs. Aisha left the fair with Elena's card, Marcus's invite, and Jamal's nod, her portfolio lighter, her heart heavy with purpose. The Brooklyn Museum's pop-up loomed, a canvas for her truth, a stage where Victor's dismissal would be his regret. Claire lingered at Victor's booth, her eyes on Aisha's retreating figure, her voice a whisper to a colleague. "I'm emailing her portfolio to my friend at Art Forum," she said, her fingers typing, her loyalty shifting. Jamal texted his crew, "Aisha's next up," his words a spark in Brooklyn streets. Aisha walked into the New York night, her locks swaying, her paint-stained hands ready, her murals a fire that'd soon burn global, from Harlem to the world. Have you ever been doubted but kept pushing to prove them wrong? Drop your story in the comments, I'm reading every one. Let's dive back into the vibrant chaos of New York City, July 2025, where the Hudson Art Fair's electric hum lingers, and the Iran-Israel war's economic shadow casts a leaner art scene, galleries sparse, collectors cautious, yet the streets pulse with dreamers. Aisha Brooks, a 30-year-old black artist from Harlem, stands tall, her braided locks swaying, her paint-splattered denim jacket a badge of her hustle. Her portfolio of murals, bold blues, reds, and golds weaving African diaspora tales with futuristic hope, has sparked whispers after a stinging rejection from Victor Crane, a smug gallery owner who dismissed her as street art. His words, "Brooklyn's not Chelsea, sweetheart," fuel her fire, but Elena Torres, a Latina curator, and Marcus, her colleague, have handed Aisha a shot at the Brooklyn Museum's pop-up show, a live painting event that could flip the script. Victor's smirk and his assistant Claire's quiet rebellion, a sneaky photo of Aisha's work sent to Art Forum, set the stage, while local artist Jamal's hype spreads through Brooklyn streets. The pop-up looms, a canvas for Aisha's truth, and her murals are about to paint over Victor's bias in a way that'll echo from Harlem to the world. The Brooklyn Museum's courtyard buzzed with raw energy, a post-war revival pulsing under July's humid night sky, fairy lights strung across scaffolds, food trucks dishing out tacos and jerk chicken, and a crowd of hundreds, collectors, locals, art students, cramming in for the 2025 pop-up show. Aisha Brooks stood before a massive blank canvas, 10 feet by 20, her paint cans lined up like soldiers, her braided locks pulled back, her dark eyes blazing with focus. Her denim jacket was swapped for a smock, her hands steady despite the crowd's hum, her heart racing as she gripped a brush, ready to paint live, a mural to capture Harlem's soul, diaspora dreams, and a future unbroken by war's gloom. The Iran-Israel conflict's economic ripple had made this event a beacon, drawing eyes from New York to Paris, and Aisha was its spark. Elena Torres, clipboard in hand, her sharp bob catching the lights, worked the crowd, her Puerto Rican accent warm as she hyped Aisha to a group of collectors. "She's the real deal," Elena said, her eyes on Aisha's canvas, her voice carrying over the chatter. "Her murals tell stories you feel in your bones." Marcus, her wiry colleague, adjusted his fogged glasses, his voice urgent as he spoke to a journalist from Art Forum, pointing at Aisha. "That's Aisha Brooks," he said, his notepad out. "Her work's about to change the game." The journalist, a sharp-eyed woman named Lena, scribbled notes, her camera ready, her voice low. "Heard she got snubbed at Hudson. Big mistake." The crowd murmured, phones out, their whispers a chorus, "She's the one from the fair. Those murals are fire." Aisha dipped her brush in crimson, her first stroke bold, a sweeping arc that became a woman's silhouette, head wrap high, eyes fierce, reaching for a neon star. The crowd hushed, their eyes locked, her paint a story unfolding, mothers weaving hope, kids chasing dreams, elders holding history. Jamal, in the front row, his dreads bobbing, shouted, "Go, Aisha." His Brooklyn accent a spark, his crew nodding, their phones down, their cheers raw. Tasha, Aisha's poet friend, stood beside him, her braids swinging, her voice a whisper. "She's painting our soul," she said, her eyes wet, her notebook forgotten. The mural grew, blues blending into purples, gold sparking like firelight, a tapestry of Harlem's grit and diaspora's dreams, defying the war's shadow. Across town, Victor Crane sat in his Chelsea gallery, his slick suit crisp, his gray hair gleaming under fluorescent lights, his booth quiet after the fair's chaos. Claire, his assistant, hovered, her clipboard tight, her eyes on her phone, where Aisha's Hudson moment, her clapback, "My art's for the world," had spread through art blogs, thanks to her Art Forum tip. "Victor, you seen this?" Claire said, her voice cautious, showing him a post about Aisha's pop-up slot. Victor scoffed, his smirk tight. "A Brooklyn stunt," he said, his eyes on a white artist's canvas, his voice sharp. "She'll fade." Claire bit her lip, her fingers typing, sending another of Aisha's mural photos to a contact at Vogue, her silence no longer loyal. Back at the museum, Aisha's mural took shape, a black girl painting stars on a cracked wall, a griot chanting under a neon sky, a community rising from rubble. The crowd roared, their applause a wave, collectors whispering bids to Elena, who nodded, her smile wide. Lena, the art forum journalist, snapped photos, her voice sharp. "This is history," she said, her notes piling up, her lens catching Aisha's every stroke. A collector, a silver-haired woman from Paris named Simone, leaned in, her French accent soft. "I want that mural for my gallery," she told Elena, her checkbook out. "She's a star." Marcus grinned, his glasses fogged, his voice a whisper. "Told you she'd blow up." A shout cut through, a rival artist, a white painter named Ethan, heckled from the crowd, his voice loud, echoing Victor's bias. "That's just graffiti," he called, his smirk sharp, his friends snickering. The crowd tensed, heads turning, but Aisha's brush didn't waver, her eyes locked on the canvas, her voice steady over a mic Elena handed her. "This ain't graffiti," she said, her Harlem fire blazing, her strokes bold. "This is legacy, my people, my dreams, my fight." The crowd erupted, Jamal's crew shouting, Tasha clapping, Ethan's smirk fading as boos drowned him out. Elena stepped up, her voice firm. "She's painting truth," she said, her eyes on Ethan. "You can't handle it." The mural neared completion, Aisha's hands a blur, her smock splattered, her locks loose under the lights. She added a final stroke, a golden horizon, a girl's hand reaching up, stars within grasp. The crowd roared, their cheers echoing across the courtyard, phones snapping, but the energy raw, not digital, a story spreading through voices, not screens. Elena hugged Aisha, her clipboard down, her voice a vow. "You're headlining my fall show," she said, her eyes shining. "And Simone's flying you to Paris." Aisha's breath caught, her hands trembling, her voice a whisper. "Paris?" Marcus nodded, his glasses clear, his voice firm. "You're global now." Victor's gallery, miles away, grew quieter, his buyers dwindling, his smirk fading as Claire's phone buzzed with Art Forum's preview, Aisha Brooks, Harlem's rising star. Claire's eyes met his, her voice soft but sharp. "You missed her, Victor," she said, her clipboard down, her loyalty gone. The pop-up's energy spilled into Brooklyn streets, Jamal's crew chanting Aisha's name, Tasha reciting a poem for her, the crowd carrying her mural's image in their minds, mothers, stars, hope. Aisha stood before her canvas, her smock a badge, her heart full, her truth a fire that'd soon burn beyond New York, a black artist's legacy painting over hate. So, have you ever turned rejection into a masterpiece? Drop your story in the comments, I'm reading every one. If Aisha's fire lit you up, smash that like button and subscribe to see more stories of triumph. Let's plunge back into the vibrant pulse of New York City, July 2025, where the Brooklyn Museum's courtyard still hums with the afterglow of Aisha Brooks's live mural, a 10 by 20-foot masterpiece of Harlem soul, woven with African diaspora tales and neon-lit dreams, painted under the gaze of hundreds. The Iran-Israel war's economic shadow lingers, thinning galleries and tightening wallets, but Aisha, a 30-year-old black artist from Harlem, has ignited a spark. Her braided locks loose, her smock splattered, her dark eyes blazing, she's turned Victor Crane's rejection, Brooklyn's not Chelsea, sweetheart, into fuel, her mural silencing hecklers like Ethan and winning collectors like Simone, who's offered a Paris show. Elena Torres, the Latina curator, and Marcus, her colleague, are pushing Aisha toward a fall exhibition, while Art Forum's preview, sparked by Victor's assistant Claire's betrayal, calls her Harlem's rising star. Jamal's crew chants her name, Tasha's poetry echoes her triumph, and Victor's Chelsea gallery grows quiet, his smirk fading. Aisha's truth is spreading, not through screens, but through voices, art blogs, and whispers of a global stage. The Brooklyn Museum's courtyard was alive with the fading echoes of cheers, fairy lights twinkling above food trucks, the scent of jerked chicken mingling with summer humidity. Aisha Brooks stood before her mural, her smock streaked with crimson and gold, her braided locks loose, her dark eyes reflecting the crowd's awe. The 10 by 20-foot canvas, a black girl painting stars on a cracked wall, a griot chanting under a neon sky, a community rising from rubble, had stopped the show, its colors a rebellion against the Iran-Israel war's economic gloom. Collectors whispered bids, art students snapped photos, and locals like Jamal, his dreads bobbing, shouted, "Aisha's the truth." His Brooklyn accent a spark in the night. Tasha, her poet friend, clutched her notebook, her braids swinging, her voice a whisper. "You painted our heart, girl," she said, her eyes wet, her words a poem unwritten. Elena Torres, clipboard forgotten, wove through the crowd, her sharp bob catching the lights, her Puerto Rican accent warm as she spoke to Simone, the Parisian collector. "Aisha's mural is yours for Paris," Elena said, her smile wide, her voice firm. "But she's headlining my uptown show first." Simone, silver hair gleaming, nodded, her French accent soft. "Her work speaks," she said, her checkbook out, her eyes on Aisha's canvas. "I want her in the Louvre's next showcase." Marcus, adjusting his fogged glasses, leaned in, his voice urgent. "Aisha's booked for our fall exhibition, but Paris is hers," he said, his notepad scribbling, his eyes on Lena, the art forum journalist, whose camera clicked, her notes piling up. "This is bigger than Brooklyn," Lena said, her voice sharp. "She's rewriting the art world." Across town, Victor Crane's Chelsea Gallery was a tomb of fluorescent lights, his slick suit crisp but his mood sour, his gray hair dull without the fair's buzz. His booth, once a fortress of privilege, felt hollow, his buyers gone, his abstract canvases unsold. Claire, his assistant, stood by, her clipboard loose, her phone buzzing with Art Forum's preview, Aisha Brooks, Harlem's rising star. Her betrayal, emailing Aisha's portfolio to Art Forum and Vogue, had cracked Victor's armor. "You seen this?" Claire said, her voice steady now, showing him the article, Aisha's mural glowing on her screen. Victor's smirk faltered, his voice sharp. A flash in the pan, he snapped, his eyes on a buyer who'd just left, citing Aisha's buzz. Claire's eyes narrowed, her silence gone, her voice firm. "You passed on her, Victor. That's on you." She typed another email, sending Aisha's work to a curator friend in London, her loyalty fully shifted. Back at the museum, Aisha wiped paint from her hands, her smock a badge, her heart racing as Elena approached, her smile electric. "Aisha, you're the talk of the night," she said, her clipboard raised, her voice a vow. "Simone's offering a solo show in Paris, and Vogue wants an interview." Aisha's breath caught, her locks swaying, her voice a whisper. Paris? Vogue? She'd painted Harlem stoops, Brooklyn cafes, but this, a global stage, was a dream she'd sketched in her cramped studio at 3 a.m. Jamal clapped her shoulder, his grin wide. "Told you, sis," he said, his crew chanting, "Aisha. Aisha." Tasha hugged her, her poet's voice soft. "You're our griot now," she said, her notebook open, a poem forming. A new challenge rose, a call from Marcus, his glasses fogged, his voice urgent. "Aisha, the New York Art Collective wants you for a citywide mural project," he said, his notepad out. 5 boroughs, public spaces, post-war healing theme. "You in?" Aisha's hands trembled, her mind racing, murals across New York, her art on subway walls, community centers, bridges. "I'm in," she said, her voice steady, her Harlem fire blazing. The crowd overheard, their cheers rising, collectors like Simone nodding, Lena's pen flying. "That's a game changer," Lena said, her camera on Aisha, her art forum piece growing. Victor's gallery grew quieter, his phone silent, his buyers drawn to Brooklyn's buzz. Claire's emails had spread Aisha's work, Vogue, The Guardian, art blogs lighting up with her name. Victor scrolled his phone, his smirk gone, his eyes on a post quoting Aisha's Hudson clapback, "My art's for the world." He muttered, "She's just lucky," but his voice cracked, his gallery's white walls a mirror of his misstep. Claire, packing her clipboard, spoke up, her voice sharp. "Luck? She's talent you ignored," she said, her eyes on her phone, where Vogue confirmed Aisha's interview. Victor's silence was heavy, his bias exposed, his gallery a fading echo. At the museum, Aisha's mural stood proud, its stars glowing under floodlights, its story of resilience a beacon. Elena pulled her aside, her voice firm. "The collective's project starts next week," she said, her eyes shining. "You're leading it." Aisha nodded, her smock splattered, her voice steady. "For Harlem, for the diaspora," she said, her eyes on the mural, her heart flashing to her studio, her mom's kitchen, where she'd promised to paint her truth. Tasha recited a poem to the crowd, her voice a rhythm. Aisha paints the stars, lifts the scars, breaks the bars. The crowd roared, their hands clapping, their voices carrying Aisha's name into the night. Jamal's crew spread the word, their texts buzzing through Brooklyn's barbershops, stoops, and cafes, "Aisha's murals are us." Lena's art forum piece, now online, quoted Aisha, "This ain't graffiti, it's legacy." Simone wired a deposit for the Paris show, her voice a promise. "You're our future," she told Aisha, her French accent warm. Marcus handed Aisha a contract for the collective, his glasses clear, his voice firm. "New York's yours," he said, his notepad down. The courtyard pulsed, the crowd's energy raw, not digital, a story spreading through voices, not screens, from Brooklyn to Paris. Flash back to Harlem, a year ago, Aisha's studio, paint cans scattered, her hands blending colors at dawn, her mom's voice on the phone. "Paint what's true, baby," she'd said, her Harlem accent thick, her pride afire. That truth now stood before hundreds, its stars a defiance of Victor's dismissal, its colors a revolution. Aisha left the museum, her smock off, her denim jacket back on, her locks swaying, her heart full. The New York Art Collective loomed, a canvas for her city, a stage where Victor's regret would deepen, her murals a fire that'd soon burn global, from Harlem to the world. The electric pulse of New York City, July 2025, still reverberates from Aisha Brooks's triumph at the Brooklyn Museum's pop-up, where her 10 by 20-foot mural, a black girl painting stars, a griot chanting under neon skies, a community rising from rubble, silenced doubters and lit up the art world. The Iran-Israel war's economic shadow lingers, thinning galleries, but Aisha, a 30-year-old black artist from Harlem, has turned rejection into revolution. Victor Crane's dismissive sneer, "Brooklyn's not Chelsea, sweetheart," fueled her fire, only to see his Chelsea gallery fade as her murals blaze. Elena Torres and Marcus secured her a New York Art Collective project and a Paris show with collector Simone, while Art Forum and Vogue amplify her name, thanks to Claire's betrayal. Jamal's crew chants her name, Tasha's poetry immortalizes her, and Aisha's truth, her vibrant murals of diaspora dreams, spreads from Brooklyn's stoops to global stages, a legacy painting over hate. 3 months later, September 2025, Aisha Brooks stood in Paris's Galerie Lumière, a sleek space with glass walls and soft lights, her murals now framed, their colors, crimson head wraps, neon stars, golden horizons, glowing against the city's autumn haze. Her braided locks were swept up, her paint-splattered denim jacket swapped for a tailored blazer, but her Harlem fire burned in her dark eyes. The Louvre's curator, Marie, a poised woman with a sharp bob, walked her through the gallery, her French accent warm. "Your work is a revelation," Marie said, her eyes on Aisha's mural, a family dancing under a neon sky, a nod to Harlem's pulse. "It's the heart of our diaspora exhibit." Aisha's breath caught, her voice steady. "This is for my people," she said, her hands tracing the frame, her heart flashing to her Harlem studio, her mom's kitchen, where she'd promised to paint her truth. Back in New York, Victor Crane's Chelsea gallery was a ghost town, its white walls bare, his slick suit crumpled, his gray hair unkempt. The Iran-Israel war's economic ripple had hit hard, but Aisha's rise, splashed across Vogue, The Guardian, and Art Forum, had drained his buyers. Claire, now working for Elena's Uptown Gallery, had emailed Aisha's portfolio to every major curator she knew, her betrayal complete. Victor scrolled his phone, his smirk gone, his eyes on a Vogue feature, Aisha Brooks, the artist redefining legacy. The article quoted her Hudson clapback, "My Art's for the World," and detailed her Paris show, her New York art collective murals on subway walls and community centers. Victor muttered, she was nothing, but his voice trembled, his gallery's silence a mirror of his mistake. In Paris, Aisha's opening night buzzed, collectors and critics crowding the gallery, their voices a mix of French, English, and awe. Simone, the Parisian collector, raised a glass, her silver hair gleaming, her voice a toast. To Aisha, our star, she said, her eyes on the mural, its stars a beacon. Aisha smiled, her blazer sharp, her locks loose, her voice steady as she spoke to the crowd. This is Harlem, the diaspora, our dreams, she said, her words echoing her Brooklyn Museum mic drop, this ain't graffiti, it's legacy. The crowd erupted, their applause a wave, cameras flashing, but the energy raw, not digital, a story spreading through voices. Across the Atlantic, Jamal stood in Harlem, his dreads bobbing, his phone live streaming Aisha's Paris opening to his crew, their cheers echoing on 125th Street. That's our sis. He shouted, his Brooklyn accent thick, his pride afire. Tasha, beside him, recited a new poem, her braids swinging, her voice a rhythm. Aisha paints the stars, breaks the bars, heals our scars. The live stream chat exploded, Harlem's proud. She's global. As Aisha's murals, now on New York subway walls, community centers, and bridges, became a citywide anthem, their colors a defiance of the war's gloom. Elena, in her Uptown Gallery, hung Aisha's latest piece, a mural of kids chasing neon kites, their joy a rebellion, for the fall show. Marcus, his glasses clear, grinned, his voice firm. She's rewriting the game, he said, his notepad down, his eyes on the mural. Lena's Art Forum feature, now a cover story, called Aisha, the voice of a generation, her Hudson rejection a footnote, Victor's name absent. In Paris, Aisha signed prints, her hands steady, her heart full, her mom's voice in her mind, paint what's true, baby. She'd done that, from Harlem stoops to Paris walls, her murals a bridge between worlds. Victor, alone in his gallery, packed unsold canvases, his phone silent, his buyers gone. A newsstand outside displayed The Guardian's headline, Aisha Brooks, from Harlem to the Louvre. He bought a copy, his hands shaking, his eyes scanning the story, her Brooklyn triumph, her Paris show, her collective murals healing a post-war city. He saw her quote, rejection was my fuel. Victor's face fell, his bias exposed, his regret a weight he'd carry. Claire, now thriving with Elena, texted Aisha, you're unstoppable. Aisha replied, we all are, her words a nod to Harlem, to the diaspora, to dreamers. Aisha stood on a Paris balcony, the Eiffel Tower glowing, her blazer off, her locks swaying, her paint-stained hands a badge. She'd painted New York, Paris, the world, her murals a fire that burned through hate, a legacy that'd outlast Victor's gallery. The crowd's cheers echoed in her mind, Tasha's poem a heartbeat, her mom's pride a star. She whispered, for Harlem, her eyes on the horizon, her truth global, her art eternal. So, what's your legacy? Drop your story in the comments, how'd you turn rejection into triumph? Smash that like button, subscribe, and share Aisha's story to inspire the world.